I think Matt's going to be very shocked that we watched the scene from Terminator 2 on Anime Monday, but that's the beauty of anime. It's universal. It's universal. All right. It is time for Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, and we are up to... What episode are we up to? We are up to episode 30, the Ishvalan War of Extermination. And last week, it got very deep, and for the last few weeks, it got very real, and it made me truly appreciate Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood as a series. With the first 10 episodes being a nice introduction, a little heavy, a little dark, but doable. Episode 10 to 20 was a little harder. And episode 20 to 30 really twisted the knife in. If this pattern is anything to go by, fuck me. I hope someone has pinged everyone on Discord. But, let's strap in. Bye, everyone that's actually opting out. I hope you guys give this anime a chance. It's really good. It's up on Patreon. Just to let everyone know, we do live stream in 720p because it's more reliable, but I do upload the videos in 1080p on Patreon. I am recording it in 4K, but given that the video itself is only 720 to 1080p, it wouldn't make sense to export it in 4K because who wants to see my face in 4K? But yeah, it's up on Patreon. If you want, I know you're subscribed via Twitch Prime, but like if you want, instead of doing Twitch, you could just do Patreon for a month and binge it in higher quality. Totally up to you. Totally up to you.
So you've decided to become a soldier after all?
Wait! Mustang, sacrifice. Is he a potential sacrifice for one of the gemstones?
That's all the proof I need. You're not ready to learn flame alchemy.
But sir, I am. It's the only thing left. I mean, haven't I already mastered the fundamentals of alchemy?
Of course you have. And I regret even teaching you that much, now that I know who you plan on using it for.
But alchemy should be used for the people, shouldn't it? Master, our country is constantly under threat from all sides. The military needs alchemists. It's a matter of defending our homes. If we don't help them...
I'm tired of hearing that vile rhetoric.
I can't stand to see you like this. There's no reason for a man of your stature to suffer in this kind of squalor. If you would simply join the military, you could get grants for your research. You could...
I don't need a grant for something I've already completed.
You finished your research?
I've created the most powerful alchemy. It would only cause tragedy if I placed it in the wrong hands. And now that I've finished it, I've allowed myself to grow complacent. We alchemists are hungry creatures. We must continue the hunt for knowledge as long as we live. If we forgo pursuing the truth, then we allow ourselves to die. Trust me, I've been dead for a long time.
Master! Are you all right? Master Hawkeye!
Look after my daughter. She's in possession of my research. Look after her.
Wait, is your daughter Mrs. Pew Pew?
You've done so much. I don't think I can ever thank you enough.
Well, this makes this relationship oddly different. It goes from being a, hey, you're my underling, to, hey, I'm your adoptive big brother that's looking after you. Ooh, this complicates things.
It's the least I could do, after everything he's taught me. You should take this. You can call me in the military if you need to. And let me guess, you also don't approve of me becoming a soldier.
45. All things considered, he wasn't old.
Your father told me soldiers are left to die like trash on the side of the road. That may be, but I know it's the only way to make a difference. And I know I'll never be happy if I don't try to make this country a better place. Man, that must have sounded pretty childish, huh?
Not at all. There's nothing childish about caring. I'd like to believe that you're serious about this. That you really do care. Can I trust you, Roy? With my father's research?
Was it the gloves? Le Fouque?
No, Hayate. Bad dog. Sorry about that.
Don't worry, it happens all the time. So I, heard you're working for the Fuhrer.
Yeah.
Well, that's something. That's
Looks
one
like
place
things
to hide
got
it.
pretty serious.
Yeah, but I didn't use it. I didn't have to. Well, I couldn't pull the trigger. It's pathetic, huh? If I just... Well, I was just useless.
Tell me what happened.
You know, Scar, I found out he murdered Winry's parents. She could have shot him. But deep down, I knew that would be wrong. And all of a sudden, that gun seemed like something evil. Next thing I knew, I stopped her. But I honestly think she would have shot him if I hadn't been there. She could hardly stop crying once I got the gun away. And it's my fault. I've got no resolve. I only managed to make things worse.
You're just dwelling on this stuff because you made it back alive. You need to
Survivor's
stay
guilt.
focused on living. That's how you'll help Winry. How else can you protect her? I mean, after all, you love her, don't you?
No, it's not like that. We've just been friends since we were little kids. She's like family to me. I mean, of course, I'm gonna protect her, you know?
What happened with Scar?
You know what they say, incest is the best. Put your sister to the test.
I'm sorry. This only added to your burdens.
I've gotta ask, does it ever feel like a burden to you?
I've lost the right to look at it that way, so I'd be wrong to complain. I'm not proud of it. But I've killed too many to feel sorry for myself. Besides, I can't deny that I'm the one who chose this path.
Do you mean Ishval? Can I ask you about that?
Oh boy.
Would it be all right?
Oh boy. They need some vodka for that story.
It's time to confess. Tell me your sins. What did you do to my people?
I mean, this is why I don't go to the Catholics anymore. This is how they do confession. In a dungeon. It wasn't the Spaniards.
Ishval is a harsh and barren country, filled with rocks and sand. Considering the terrain, it's not surprising that it would give birth to such a stringent religion. Or that its people would be so earnest and resolute. It's only natural that a faction of the population would protest the country's annexation by Amestris. Their mistrust was soon justified.
God damn it, you fuckwit.
That one bullet changed everything. Their mistrust turned to outrage, and dissidence spread like a contagion. It soon escalated into a civil war, and the fighting lasted 7 long years. Until a simple one-page document determined the Ishvalan's fate. Executive Order 3066. The official order to initiate the Ishvalan War of Extermination.
Gotta ask, the people that made the Fullmetal Alchemist, they were fans of Star Wars, weren't they? Let me get this straight. So they brought peace to Ishval by killing the Ishvalans. Yep, just like the Catholic Church.
It was like hell on earth. The air was tainted with the smell of human decay, and the desert sand soaked up the blood like a sponge.
Ugh.
Most combat is blind. A normal soldier might fire erratically without a clear target in mind. But it's different for snipers. Someone is sure to die when we pull the trigger. Where other soldiers don't always have a direct line of sight on the effects of their actions, snipers do. And, of course, the state alchemists.
Listen here. I am the Iron Blood Alchemist, Boss Grod. Iron and blood. I am both soldier and weapon. Now stand down. I am the only man able to take the lead in this battle.
They killed civilians. Ladies and gentlemen, what we see here this is the effect of totalitarianism. And this is what happens to everyone that does not fit into the ideology of the ruling. They call it cleansing or cleaning or solidifying power or whatever you want to do. It's happened time and time again, whether it be, well, fucking Europe in World War II, whether it be, I mean, China, or before that, what was before that? Was it India when it was invaded, or was it Europe when it was invaded, or was it Europe when it was invaded by itself again, or it's the same shit. Or when the Americans, well, before there were the Americans, came to America, and time and time again. This is what happens when people stop viewing people as people and start viewing them as something else. They've got different names for it, you know? They're degenerates, or they're parasites, or they're something else. But what I see is a father or a mother holding a child. Or old people trying to get away from the fighting. I didn't see a single weapon here. These were not soldiers. These were not combatants. These were people. These are things, not weapons. These are children, not soldiers. These are women. These are children. These are old, defenseless men. This is disgusting. War is nothing but human stupidity taking form. It's proof that we as a species are very primal. We can't override our base instincts to kill people and use force to subjugate those weaker than we are. It's a very primal thing. And the fact that we still have wars is proof that we as a species are not advanced, because we're unable to resolve things with logic and discussion and compromise, but rather use force and death and plague and hunger and disease and immunization. We use economics. We use destruction of land, all for the sake of arbitrary lines drawn on a map and who's right about the afterlife. We're fucked as a species. Never underestimate the destructive capability of idiots in large numbers, especially when they have guns. And what happens to the survivors is that they carry on the pain and the hate and the anger, and they seek revenge. Same as we've spoken last week. And what happens to some of the combatants here? They carry it for the rest of their lives. War is hell. Anyone that says otherwise is not human.
They took my leg! Those savage Ishvalan dogs! Damn them! Damn them!
Hey, Roy! Roy Mustang! So you got deployed too. Well, it's good to see you. Although, you've changed since the last time I saw you.
I could say the same, Hughes. You have the eyes of a killer.
Yeah. Look at this country. It's not exactly the future we imagined when we were at the academy.
Yeah. I guess that future could never be. Captain, you have a letter.
Oh, thank you.
What? What's wrong?
I've still got a beautiful future. And her name is Gracia. She's patiently waiting at Central for the day I can come home. All alone. Oh, how long before some jerk puts the moves on her? No, Gracia would never do that to me. She'd never have an affair like that. But she is all alone.
Hey, Hughes, I got a little advice for you. It happens in movies and novels all of the time. The soldiers who never shut up about their girls back home, they don't make it.
Not funny, Roy. All right, then. I can make it through this day. This letter is all I need. I can think about tomorrow again. Even if this damn battlefield might not let me see it.
I can't picture any way out of this war. No matter how much military force we throw at it, the desert seems to just suck it up like water. All of this destruction. For what purpose? All that's left is sand.
True. It seems a little excessive to suppress an uprising.
Hello, Major Mustang. Long time no see. Do you still remember me?
Damn this war. Even her. She has the eyes of a killer, too.
Fullmetal Alchemist.
3 man seeks peace, yet at the same time yearning for war. Those two realms belonging solely to man. Thinking of peace while spilling blood is something that only humans could do. They're two sides of the same coin. To protect something, another must be sacrificed. It sounds like that little tale that was told by one of the chieftains in America. And he said, inside a man, there are 2 wolves. One dark who just wants to feed, rape, pillage, dominate. And the other who seeks peace, tranquility, and shelter. And the little boy asks the chieftain, which one wins? Because the 2 are always fighting one another for dominance. And the chieftain says, the one you feed. I completely understand the justification of some of these soldiers believing that they are protecting their loved ones and that they do evil for a good cause. But fire doesn't cleanse, it only blackens. You should be very careful when fighting demons that you don't become one yourself. Because if you use evil to stop evil, evil will only exist. It will still exist, it will remain. So sure, you're just replacing one for another. And sometimes you're replacing one evil for another. And a lot of the time, it's not even evil that you're fighting, it's just a matter of perspective. You're led to believe that your enemy is evil. You're led to believe that the people you are killing are planning to kill you. That happened very often in World War I. When soldiers met in combat, they would kill each other believing that the other would kill them. They could not communicate because they did not speak the same language. The only time they could communicate was during Christmas, where they shared smokes and alcohol and things like that. They went into no man's land during Christmas because that's the one thing they could share in common. And then the next day they returned to killing each other. I strongly believe if people all sat at a table together and broke bread, we wouldn't have violence, because they'd realize so quickly that they have more in common than they realize. Regardless of culture, people eat, they drink, they care for their family and loved ones. They have pets, they have nephews, they have nieces, they have sons, they have daughters, they have grandchildren, they have parents, they have aunties, they have uncles, they have hopes, they have dreams. These are all the things that make us the same. We have more things that make us the same than we do things that make us different. People are ignorant of this fact, which is why they're so easy to manipulate, especially young people. They're easily manipulated because they don't know better. They're still young, they're inexperienced, they're green. That's why religion, politics, as well as radicalization uses young people as tools. They're not old enough to realize the ways of the world and lack the experience to deduce for themselves who's telling the truth. Which is why they become radicalized and, put bombs on themselves and kill themselves, believing it's for the greater good. Or they join a radicalized religion and start crusades. Or they join the military believing that they're defending their people when instead they're guarding oil fields and territory for a government that doesn't care for them. If people just talked, if they treated people like people, we wouldn't have this self-perpetuating cycle of hate. I understand it. I get it. You might think that I'm some kid who grew up in the West that never had to face any sort of challenges, and you'd be wrong. I am from Yugoslavia, which is a war-torn country. I did grow up with paranoia and fear of other people. I did grow up getting beat up by the kids of migrants in a very rough area. I did grow up not trusting people. I did grow up fearful of the other kids. Whether they were black or whether they were from Asia or whether they were from Arab or whether they were non-Serbian. I feared them. Because I didn't know any better. And they probably feared me. Or hated me because their parents told them, you better hate the kid from Serbia because 40, 50 years ago, we were killing each other and some shit like that. And so the kid just soaked it all up and beat up another kid in the classroom or outside during recess and lunch. And that kid grew up hating and fearing them because he didn't know any better. Hell, I grew up fearful and hateful. And it didn't help that my father was fanning those flames. He hated everyone that wasn't Serbian. He even hated fucking white people and European people. To him, Italians and fucking anyone that wasn't Serbian was not to be trusted. Now, don't get me wrong on people that even weren't European. He hated them even more. But he had his own reasons because he was a child during World War II. And when he came to Australia, he was run over by a car. He was in a car accident. And the guy that hit his car and broke his leg was actually an officer in the police. And when he went to report it, the officer basically said, look, you report this, I'm putting you in jail. These were the conditions under which migrants grew up, which is why they were fearful of other people. I completely understand this cycle, but the cycle needs to be broken. Literally. Someone in the cycle has to decide to not continue it. That's how it works. It literally has to be broken cold turkey. Someone's just gonna take the slap on the cheek and do nothing. I'm not saying not defend yourself. I'm just saying not seek vengeance. Someone's gonna do it. Someone's gonna bite that bullet. And of course, there are a lot of people that don't want this cycle broken, because politicians can make very lucrative careers of fear-mongering and separating people. Because a population that's separate and at each other's throats is very easy to control. People that are united, they're scary because they can overthrow governments. They can change the world. Which is why it's in the interest of the ruling class to keep everyone separated. It's a fact. It's a divide and conquer strategy that has been proven over the ages time and time again. At the same time, we as a people don't have an excuse because we live in an age of digital information where we have access to virtually any resource that we need. We can learn about history, we can learn about other people, we can communicate with other people. We don't have an excuse for being ignorant. People 50 or 100 years ago could have been ignorant because they didn't have access to this information. We do. Yes, there's some people manipulating our access, pushing certain posts, and hiding other ones, and trying to fuel hate. But we, as people with access to information, should be able to deduce that a lot is bullshit. You don't need to be a genius. You just need to be human.
Fullmetal Alchemist.
Maybe you can answer this, Major.
And whoever says they want a war has never been in one. Whoever says they want a centralized government that controls everything obviously hasn't been in a country that was a dictatorship.
Why are we being ordered to kill citizens when we should be the ones protecting them? I thought alchemy was meant to be used to help people. So why is it being used to kill them instead?
Because that's the job we state alchemists have been given to do. You ask why we're here killing these people instead of protecting them? Because this is a war and that's what soldiers do. Isn't that right?
You think this is our job? To cause tragedy?
Well, that's how it seems. But let's see. Tell me, miss. You're not very happy to be here, are you? Well, you don't appear to be. But can you honestly tell me, in that split second when you take down an enemy, you don't allow yourself to feel the slightest tinge of satisfaction and pride in your skills? Well, Miss Marksman.
Ding, 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 ding. We have pride. He feels pride. Ding, ding, ding. No, she doesn't feel pride when the target goes down. She feels the recoil.
That's enough, Kimberly!
I'll tell you what I don't
And we
get.
have a name.
Did you people expect something different? You act like you're surprised, like you didn't choose this. Did you put on that uniform thinking you wouldn't be asked to kill? The one thing worse than death is to avert your eyes from it. Look straight at the people you kill. Don't take your eyes off them for a second. And don't ever forget them, because I promise that they won't forget you.
Well, that's very samurai.
Too bad. There's the bell. Time for me to get back to work.
I've got to head out too. See you later, Roy.
Hughes, can you tell me why you fight?
It's simple. I don't want to die. That's the only reason.
And that's the kicker. The other guy doesn't want to die either. And he thinks you want to kill him. And you think he wants to kill you. That's war.
The reasons are always simple.
If that's so, what the hell is the reason for this war?
The reason? There is one. But it's worse than you can imagine. lives of my people to create a Philosopher Stone? What happened to this stone? It was given to Major Zolf J. Kimbley. He was known as the Crimson Alchemist. Did you see what this man looked like? Did he have black hair and cold eyes? Yes. My brother. Keep talking. Everything changed. That single stone turned the battle around.
And you want to know the fucked up thing about Unit 731, along with a lot of other research institutes in Nazi Germany throughout World War II? The guy that was running Unit 731 didn't go to prison. In exchange, he just had to give his research to the Americans. What do you think happened to all the German weapons scientists and rocket scientists and nuclear physicians? They didn't go to jail. They just had to keep working on what they were doing. You think if they caught the angel of death that did a genetic experimentation, that he would go to jail? No. They would literally just force him to continue his research, because his research was in developing super soldiers. And basically his research was to make the process of bearing children quicker, as well as to make the number of children that are born multiply. So his research was actually to get twins or triplets or quadruplets, and to try to modify the genetics so he could give soldier genes to them. Which is why when he went missing, they thought that he was in South America, because in a town, there was apparently a doctor, and there's a lot of twins in that town. And apparently there was a doctor going around in that town and giving pregnant women injections. And he matched the description of Dr. Mendele, who was the angel of death in Nazi Germany. And by the way, by saying what a head, are you an Aussie? Because that's a very superwog thing to say. But I find it pretty funny that there's people that browse Twitch trying to insult people. Their lives must be a lot of fun. But, like, okay. Have a good day, buddy.
What a beautiful sound. It doesn't get any better than that. I can feel it deep in my bones. Like a part of me
Argentina,
I never
that's the
noticed
one.
before. That sound is an extension of my being. And this land that's governed by death, I will paint it red with this shard of destruction. I couldn't dream of a more fulfilling job. Such a beautiful sound! Like a symphony! This stone is amazing!
Do you want to know what the irony of the research that the Germans did was? The fact that they were blonde and had blue eyes gave them absolutely no physical nor intellectual advantage whatsoever. They breeded young, fit women with SS soldiers. And what they got was children. Nothing special. Not any bigger, not any smaller, nothing quicker. None were smarter, they were just children. Why do you think they were so upset? They wanted to prove that the Aryan race was superior. All they did instead was prove that they were no different than everyone else.
It didn't take long after that. The Ishvalans were slaughtered. With no other options, the Ishvalans surrendered. The High Priest of Ishvala, Log Lo, offered himself to the Fuhrer on behalf of his people.
So, you're asking me to take your life in place of the remaining tens of thousands of Ishvalans?
That's correct. I stand
How
with-
arrogant of you. Do you sincerely believe that your single life is equivalent to the remaining multitude of your followers? Your stature is gone to your head. The life of any individual human is only worth one life. That's all. Nothing more and nothing less.
Equality, ladies and gentlemen! True equality! You're all pieces of shit and you're all gonna die! Wow! Clearly, Wrath doesn't understand what sincerity and bowing is. But then again, he doesn't love any of his people, whereas this guy loves his people and he's willing to give up his life for them. Wrath wouldn't give up his fucking tea for anyone. Jesus Christ. I like how Hughes is here, by the way. He's in this scene.
Your life is not enough to call off the extermination.
How can you be so inhuman?
You will suffer the hammer of God!
God, you say? Now this is intriguing. How much longer do you think your God plans to wait before unleashing his fury? Just how many thousands of lives must I take before he decides to strike me down?
There was this hitman in America called the Iceman. And he was a full-blown psychopath. He could take life without any hesitation, and when he was arrested, he basically told stories of, different lives that he took. But one stood out for him. It was this man that started praying. He didn't try to fight back. He didn't try to grab something and hit him. He literally started praying. The Iceman basically knocked on the door. The guy looked through the little peephole. He thought that, I won't open the door, I'll be safe. The Iceman figured out really quickly that he was there because he looked through the peephole. You could basically see a shadow. He kicked down the door and, basically put a gun to the guy's head. And the guy started praying. And the Iceman says, what are you doing? He says, I'm praying for God to save me. And says, okay. Tell you what, I'll give you 15 minutes. If God, in 15 minutes, comes here and tells me to spare you, I'll let you live. If not, you die. So the man prayed as hard as he could for 15 minutes. At the end, he died. At this point, they were doing basically a neural scan of this man. And this was for academic purposes when they were studying socio and psychopaths to see if they're capable of empathy. And when they were doing the scan, they could see that the emotional part of the brain was completely black. It was blank. It was night. Not a single light to be found. And this is throughout the story that he's telling. And then the psychiatrist just asked, how do you think that man felt? And he says, I don't know. Psychiatrist said, try to imagine. How would you feel if you were in his shoes? The emotional part of the brain lit up like a Christmas tree. And he said, scared. Chilling. You can literally watch this man's interviews online. And I highly recommend that you do. Because you might wonder, how can humans perform such heinous acts? Because they don't feel. I highly recommend you watch these type of interviews with these types of people. Serial killers. Just watch a few and you'll see what I mean. There are wolves amongst us in sheep's clothing. And they flock to positions of power. Because they can survive in cutthroat environments. They don't hesitate and they don't regret.
You're a monster!
Open your eyes. God is nothing more than a construct created by man to inspire fear and promote order. If you wish to see me struck down for all these atrocities, use your own hands to do so, not God's.
And that's it. The war soon ended, and we were all discharged and returned to our homes.
Now we know. We really are as expendable as garbage to them.
Yeah, the power of one man. It doesn't amount to much. But that doesn't matter. With what little strength I have, I'll do whatever it takes to protect the people I love. And in turn, they'll protect the ones they love. It seems like the least we tiny humans can do for each other. So, you've decided to take this path after all, even after what you went through in Ishvalan.
Yes, sir. If the world truly operates based on the principles of equivalent exchange, then we soldiers have plenty to give back. If this world is meant to prosper, then it is our duty to carry the bodies of the dead across a river of blood to their resting place.
From now on, I'm assigning you to be my assistant. I feel like I can trust you to watch my back. Although, I expect you understand what this means. You'll be able to shoot me in the back as well. If I ever deviate from this path, then I want you to shoot me, and I'm trusting you to do so. Do you accept my offer?
Of course I do, sir. I'll follow you into hell if you ask me to.
Wow. Wow.
Even if the Colonel does become the Fuhrer, how will that change the fact that this is still a military state?
Well, it won't. The first thing we'll have to do is restore power to the Parliament. We'll take it back from the military and make it democratic again. Only after the full extent of the military's corruption has been brought to light can this country move forward.
What do you mean?
For example, those who were praised as heroes during the Ishvalan campaign will be brought to trial as war criminals. That's right. In a just, peaceful world, after all that we've done, we'll be seen as mass murderers.
And the Colonel is trying to make sure this happens? Isn't that just like committing suicide? But the homunculi were the ones pulling the strings. They caused the Civil War.
Even if they were the ones responsible for it, we were the soldiers who carried it out. You should never avert your eyes from death. Never forget the people you've killed. Trust me. No matter how much time passes, they will never forget the ones who killed them.
It's not right.
You don't have time to start worrying about us. Your hands are already full. You need to look after your brother, Ed, and you need to get your bodies back. You better get to it. You got plenty of people waiting for that day.
I'll get our bodies back, and Al will help me.
Good night, Dr. Knox. Sorry for the intrusion.
Excuse me, Mr. Armor?
Huh?
I just wanted to thank you for your help. You saved both of our lives.
My name's not Mr. Armor. It's Alphonse Elric.
Your name is Elric?
You remember Edward Elric, don't you? The little alchemist you screamed at? Well, I'm actually his younger brother. It's kind of a long story, but I lost my body.
So you're his younger brother, huh? You probably look just like him then.
How rude! For starters, I am way taller than my brother is, and I don't have a mean face like his, and I'm a much better fighter, too. And I don't have a temper like he does. I'm a gentleman.
I really hope that you get your body back soon.
Oh, well, thank you.
That's exactly what this episode needed. Some fucking comic relief. Woo! She's thirsty for a young girl, I'll tell you that. What's with her and blonde boys? She's got white fever. Does this mean she called dibs? She grows up to be that girl in Tekken. And her panda also grows up to become Kuma. That's my headcanon. I forget what that girl in Tekken's called, but you know the one I'm talking about. I don't know why, but I've become tempted to suggest that Hutchins dye her hair blonde. Hutchins, she dyed her hair ash, which is like a browny, yellowy color, but it's like light browny. She's never dyed her hair blonde. I mean, if I was gonna date a blonde, I'd date a Serbian girl or like a European girl. I know a lot of girls through university and whatnot, and the ones that have dyed their hair blonde, it's because they want to look more white. And I'm like, why are you trying to look white? And she's like, I want to get a white guy. And I'm like, but you're Asian. And she's like, so? And I'm like, well, a white guy that's into Asian girls doesn't want an Asian girl that looks white. And then she's like, I'm like, you know what? You should keep the blonde hair. You fit the stereotype. Anyways, episode 31 is next. It's just. Thank you for telling me about the after credit scene. I'm lucky I have you here, because I was scared of watching the previews. After credit scene, da da da.
Hope you're decent, Doc. Time for your supper. Huh. It sure is quiet in here. Are you thinking about Ishvalan crying yourself to sleep?
The release of a devil into the wild ushers in the beginning of a new battle, but there is still no end to the war in sight. The young man continues to stand his ground, with hope guiding his sight beyond the horizon toward the future. Next time on Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Episode 31, The 520 Cents Promise.
I'm sorry, but I read 50 Cent.
There is another world resting there that only your closest allies know of.
Hey, did I hand you a shrinking potion by accident? I could have sworn that was the gender swapping one.
Don't be hating. She's fun size, that's all. She doesn't even have to get on her knees to blow.
You want to add anything to that conversation?
Nope, I'm good. In fact, I think your new size makes you an even more formidable and stealthy ninja.